Of all the games I've played so far that released in 2023, Alan Wake 2 was the most overrated. Why? Well, let's get into the review to find out. Alan Wake is a survival horror game with more of a focus on narrative than most games in the genre. You split your time playing as the titular Alan Wake, a writer with a supernatural ability to change reality with his stories, and Saga Anderson, an FBI agent sent to investigate some murders in a small town in Washington. As someone who hasn't played the first Alan Wake, I found the story and its use of meta-narrative kind of interesting, but not really that great. Nothing really stood out. And I will say the same thing about the characters. Alan and Saga were just decent. Some of the side characters stand out for being kind of funny or strange, like Thor, Odin, and Adi the janitor. As a fan of the Max Payne games, I liked how Casey from Alan Wake's books talked just like Max Payne. His dialogue was hilarious to me for some reason. I did think that the writing was pretty solid. The voice acting and actual live action was pretty solid overall, though there were some live action parts that were a little rough and the acting was a little like kind of bad. Speaking of live action parts, there were a lot of them in this game, and I'm not a fan of mixing live action in with a video game. It just breaks immersion and stuff, so I didn't like that aspect of the game. But I did enjoy one live action part, and that was the part with the musical, even though I'm not really a fan of musicals. Maybe it was just because the song was pretty good, I don't know, but that section was kind of neat. The game uses this cheap jump scare tactic where it suddenly cuts to some disturbing visual and loud noise way too much to the point where it was annoying, and I hated that. That shit got on my nerves. I didn't really like the ending either. I don't know, it was confusing. It made no sense, kinda. So my feelings on the story aspect of the game are mixed, which is the same thing I would say about the gameplay. The gameplay consists of third-person shooting, some puzzle solving, and some resource management. Typical survival horror stuff, similar to Resident Evil 4, but not nearly as good. You shine your flashlight, or maybe use some other light source like a flare or something, on enemies to make them vulnerable to damage or expose a weak point, and then you blast away at them. There are two different types of enemies, the Taken that you fight in the Saga parts and the Shadows you fight during the Alan parts. I enjoyed fighting the Taken, but the Shadow enemies during the Alan Wake parts were not fun to fight at all. So I found myself avoiding combat as much as possible during the Alan sections. I was just running straight through it. There's not much enemy variety, and there are a few boss fights, but none of them are really that good. It's kind of annoying, kind of poorly designed, to be honest. The puzzles are just okay. During the Alan parts, you have to transfer light from place to place to open up new paths, which is conceptually cool, and vibes with the concept of the game, but was sometimes unintuitive, and you just kind of find yourself switching light on from different spots to see if it opens up something new. I felt the same way about other parts when you would open up new paths by changing the plot or whatever from a menu during the Alan parts. Nothing much to say about the resource management aspect of the game because I never felt like I would run out of anything, which does seem to be the unfortunate standard for survival horror games nowadays. It's not like the glory days of the old Resident Evil games where your resources were finite. The graphics are the standard high quality that you find in most AAA games nowadays. I mean, it looks really good. The lighting is a standout visual feature, and that is probably because it is an essential element of the game, with you using a flashlight and other light sources so much, both inside and out of combat, as well as manipulating light sources during the Alan sections. The animation is solid overall, from the way the characters and the enemies move to the weapon reload animations, and especially the facial animation, which I thought was really good. I did have one performance issue. It was really just the frame rate dropping while in areas with a lot of trees and vegetation, even when I was well within the recommended settings from my GPU, which is a 3070. I also ran into one annoying bug, which I know has been fixed at this point, and that was I would open a container, and the game would freeze. I wouldn't be able to exit the container, and I had to reload one time and lost 10-20 minutes of progress. It happened a couple times and it was annoying. Sound design is crucial for a survival horror game, and it was solid here. The enemies making creepy noises, sound being used to effect for jump scares, not the cheap ones, but there's some good ones too. And the music was pretty good too. There's some pretty cool songs. Overall, my feelings on Alan Wake 2 were mixed. The story was somewhat interesting, but nothing really, great. Nothing stood out. And there were too many live action parts of varying quality. Sometimes the combat felt good, and others I wanted to completely avoid it. This game was universally nominated for Game of the Year award, so I expected more, which is why I call it overrated, but it's not bad by any means. I give it a solid 7 out of 10. And that's it for the review. Let me know what you thought about the game in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.